my grandparents were born in the territory of Arizona. So this memorial in this location, very deep meaning, not only for me and my family, but I know for all of you out there in the audience. Because today, we not only dedicate this beautiful and impressive memorial, we also remember how our lives can change in the flicker of a moment. In December 1941, Arizona was only a few 100,000 people, and my father was a cotton farmer in Buckeye, Arizona. Now there's somebody from Buckeye. All right, give it up for Buckeye. They didn't have any BMWs in Buckeye back then, by the way. His biggest worries in the world that day when he woke up were the constant threat of disease and pestilence for his crops, and the never-ending worry about California stealing more water from Arizona. Because they were, and I think they probably still are. To most Americans, it was a time of their young lives. In a flash, those times were gone. Americans heard about it the following day through scratchy radio speakers, for it was this act of aggression that brought the citizens of Arizona into the Second World War. We know how our nation came together earlier this year after terrorist bombings at the Boston Marathon, and the term Boston Strong became the tagline for "We will not be intimidated, we will not be defeated." Well, a generation ago, we all became Arizona strong with the phrase, "Remember Pearl Harbor," for exactly that same reason. Today, most people don't remember Pearl Harbor, but almost all of us have firsthand experience and knowledge of the attack of our homeland on September 11, 2001. This terrorist attack will also be remembered for generations to come, just as today we remember December 7th, 1941. The events of that September day that started out so routine quickly brought to mind the attack on Pearl Harbor. For too many years, the memory of December 7th, 1941 was slipping away. It's heartbreaking to know that it took another tragic event to get us all thinking about our history. I'm here to tell you it's important for Americans to remember our history, the high and the low points, and Pearl Harbor was definitely a low point. The USS Arizona was and still is a national treasure. When she was launched in 1916 and proudly named after the nation's newest state, she was the most advanced weapon platform in the world at that time. Much like the new Joint Strike Fighter that we'll have based out here at Luke Air Force Base and will be flying soon. So Arizona has deep connections to advanced military systems. She was not only one of the most advanced ships, she was the flagship. She was the pride of the fleet. That's why she was so much more sweeter the target. The fact that she was sunk and took so many lives was meant to send a message to this nation. It was not, though, the message the Empire of Japan meant to send. Americans were not intimidated. They did not push back on this aggression. We didn't pull back. We pushed forward and we fought. And the world is a much better and safer place for it. We've come a long way as a nation and as a people since December 7th, 1941, especially here in Arizona. We are blessed with natural beauty and resources, and we've seen the population grow and brought a world-class economy and companies to grow and support us. We have Intel, USAA, Hughes, Raytheon, and now we have Amazon and Apple coming out to the desert. That is just awesome. Because Arizona is a great place to do business, because Arizonans are well educated and we're hard workers. But if you didn't see in the news just yesterday, down at the University of Arizona, the researchers have just discovered a new planet out in the solar system that is the first one of its kind out there. And I said that goes to the innovation and technology we have out here in Arizona. However, amid all these technological changes, it is to those like us gathered here that we keep alive the tragic lesson of Pearl Harbor. It is a challenge. The attack on this nation of September 11th serves as a stark reminder that as citizens of this great land of freedom, we all too often forget the lessons from history. That is why it is so important for us to gather here today. We remember those who made the supreme sacrifice during World War II and on December 7th. Many are back here on the plaques. They were taken in the prime of their lives by all-consuming fires, explosions, and strafings in Pearl Harbor that day that rained down on them from a brilliant sun when it started out to be a pristine and peaceful Sunday morning. And let it be lost to no money on anybody that it was Sunday morning that we were attacked. We also remember and salute the survivors. They came here earlier. I think we had Vito Colon and Don Stratton of the USS Arizona, Nelson Mitchell, Lambert Motter, and Jack Holder, who are Pearl Harbor survivors. I think we need to give them another round of applause. Now Vito, he's an old Navy man, has my heart. I heard a story about him. Is that Vito? And if this story isn't true, don't tell anybody, Vito, because it's great. The reason Vito is here today, because he went up topside to take a smoke break on the battleship. Now, Vito, if that's not true, we'll talk about it later there, but I would keep that one in your pocket. You can still get a drink at the bar from me for that. We also remember today the Navajo Code Talkers, many from Arizona. As the chaplain pointed out, these were brave volunteers who put their lives at risk to join the United States Marine Corps to protect this nation when we needed them most. I ask that we give them applause for the memories of those Code Talkers and the very few remaining members who we can never take enough. Get the hay from the United States Navy. We know that remembering that day is important to us and our future of our nation. This is not a pleasant memory to recall. War is ugly. War is brutal. Yet the bond that joins men and women in uniform draws us to ceremonies like this because it is our duty to educate young Americans to understand the terrible price this nation once paid for the lack of vigilance. Today, I also want to remember and thank those of the greatest generation. Many are here in the plaza in front of it. They've served and lost comrades and more importantly, many of them live in Arizona now, and we are tragically losing too many of them each and every day. Thank you very much for your service. It is our duty to the greatest generation not to let the rest of us lose sight of the devastation that those torpedoes, bombs, and shells had on other people's lives. America survived that day of national disgrace, and America will survive the more recent attack on our nation. But the memory of December 7th must remain etched forever in the mind of succeeding generations. Coupled with the images of September 11th, they must paint the unforgettable collage of the price extracted by the lack of military preparedness. Remember Pearl Harbor must be forever the symbol of the consequences of underestimating the threats to peace and security throughout the world. December 7th, 1941 was a terrible lesson for us all. For us to fulfill that obligation of a bond formed by our common experiences in uniform requires that we never allow this day to fade from memory from our fellow citizens. You and I pay no finer tribute to those whom remember on this day than to ensure that the nation for which they sacrificed so much remains free and strong enough to preserve the freedoms no matter what the future holds. It's a history lesson worth retelling over generations. It's a history lesson that we forgot. Because we forgot, we allowed history to repeat itself. December 7th is a lesson for all ages, over the ages. That is why we are here today. Don't let anyone forget it. Arizona strong. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Phoenix. God bless Arizona, and God bless the United States of America. And let's beat Stanford tonight.